What's up, Crusaders? Welcome back to another episode of Arcade Crusade. In today's video, we are going to continue working on the whitewater. This will be part 7 in the whitewater restoration series. And the main thing we're going to focus on today is getting the upper playfield back on, all the ramps back on. We're just going to get the whole game back together. Since the last episode, just to save some time, I went ahead and I put all of the insert LEDs in, so just, spinning the black connectors, swapping out the wedge bulbs, the 47s under the playfield, all of that has been swapped out. I also swapped out all the flashers, and I did the back box LEDs as well. I did cool white frosted in the back box just for better light distribution. And then I also went ahead and put the apron back on. It just slides in. We got our 2 screws. So I did all that just to save some time, because it's going to take us a decent amount of time to get the upper playfield back on and the ramps hooked back up. So in its current state, pretty much same spot where we left off. We just now have LEDs in the inserts and our apron is back on. The reason I put the apron back on is because once you get Insanity Falls on, you will not be able to get it back on. So I went ahead and just put it on now. I have my upper playfield sitting here, completely rebuilt, ready to drop in. So all we're gonna do here is just, we got a couple connectors we gotta drop through, so I'm gonna see if I can get that switch to drop through there. There we go. Everything else I should be able to feed myself. I just want to be able to drop this in if possible. So starting to go on here. Ramps are back on. That dropped into place pretty smoothly, honestly. A lot more smooth than I expected. We just have to, you're gonna wanna go ahead and pull this switch through if possible. Kind of just the way that I'm doing it here. See if I can come underneath the playfield and grab that. Just kind of shove it back there so it's out of the way. All right, now that one's pulled through. The way this is sitting, I'm gonna hook up my LED strip that's back here. We got our common LED matrix wire, and it just has to hook up to this GI bulb right here. And now that's plugged in and completely out of the way. Actually, that's like the perfect length. That went in pretty nicely, nicer than I expected. I believe one of these, both of these, may drop through. There's a hole in the back center here. Might just have to shove these down if we can, and just kind of see if we can grab it with our hand. Kind of get it behind the ball guide and see if we can pull it through. This is the worst part about putting this stuff back together. Oh, I thought I had it. Maybe see if I can get the flasher down there first. This one seems to be a little bit straighter. There we go. Got the flasher down. And again, all I'm trying to do here is feed these wires through. I'm sure we'll have to. We got to feed both of our gate wires and other ones. So that might be stuck, and that's actually, I think, what we're stuck on here, why those won't come up. We got some stuck wires. Dropping nuts. I'm just going to go ahead and put one nut on here just to keep it in place from fully falling out. I think I'll put the other one on back here as well. That way I can lift the Playfield up and get to all the wires that I need to feed through here. All right, I'm gonna lift the Playfield up. Yeah, see, that is our issue here. Yeah, we got a few wires stuck. So I might pull this back up. Because I don't know how well some of these are going to pull. Here we go. The one should go here, and there should be another one that goes here for both switch gates. Okay, there was two here, I believe, that go down under the Playfield. I'll see if I can get this one untangled from the center of these two. It looks like I'm doing fine. Let me make sure you guys can see. Yeah, so just like I said, these two here. Hold on, let me see if I can completely untangle this. All right, there we go. Those two are completely separate now. Both of these connectors were the ones that we needed to undo from up there. I think it was only two wires that came through just like this. F, G. Yeah, G goes up there. F is there. I'm gonna double check my pictures here. I'm just trying to nicely pull all these wires through just so they're out of the way of the hole and everything. That's most of them. All right, yeah, we got our flasher through. Our optic from above is through. Let me just check my pictures, make sure. Yeah, it looked to be F and G that came through there. So F and G through the small hole here. We had one that comes through here. We got a couple that come down through the back here. I'm just trying to feed the last one through. It's the upper, it's the switch on the Bigfoot ramp that has to get fed through. All right, So let me put this back down. We'll feed the switch of the Bigfoot ramp through, and then I think we have all of our switches fed through here. There's no really good way to do this, but it's pretty good now. Straight to the back. We got our 2 LED strips back here completely hooked up, and hopefully they shine right through the mountains there. Bigfoot is a little close to them, but I think they'll be fine. And now we're in a spot that we can, I don't think we have any wires in the way. We should be able to just go ahead and push down here. Yeah, our playfield is, mini playfield is fully on now. Don't want that to drop in. Yeah, we are fully in place now. We can get our spine chiller in. We can get our 4 nuts on here. All right, so now that we have our upper playfield back in place, we have all 4 nuts completely secure here. We have a flasher and a switch that go through the hole back here. We have our switch for spine chiller that goes through the hole there. Our dual ball gate and our whirlpool lights go through the smaller hole here. The rest of the wires feed through the main hole here. There's a wire for the flasher and the Bigfoot switch here. Those have to go through right behind the back side of the flipper, and they drop through and get siphoned through. Make sure when you put it on, so my my whirlpool ramp was actually stuck on the circuit board that's under there. So I went ahead and got it unstuck. I just kind of bent it a little bit, pushed it down into place, so now it is out of the way from the circuit board that's down in there for the lights. So that's taken care of. We're completely in place now. We can go ahead and put our 2 wood screws into the spine chiller right here. So let me just line this up and get this one started. And you just want to make sure you're coming in straight here. Just want to make sure we are lined up here. Before I fully tighten this down. Yeah, no, that's the correct hole. It just sticks up a little bit. So just go ahead and put these in pretty much completely lined up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and crank these down. All right, that can't turn anymore. We'll get the one on the side here. All right, those are in nice and solid now. Make sure, just give it one last turn. Yeah, it's nice and tight. Nice and tight. All right, so our spine chiller's back in, whirlpool's in place. Pretty much everything is in place now on our upper playfield. All of our wires are run through. So before we put anything else on, let's go ahead and put the playfield up. And let's hook all of our wires up. So, like I said, you're gonna want to feed I and J. Let me turn it up just a little bit so we can see a little bit better. And I'll zoom in just a little bit. All right, so like I said, up here we have our J and our H that we marked earlier, and these feed behind the flipper, and they're just going to get hooked up to the existing connections here. So our J to J, hook it up, and then I just got to find where my H went. I don't know how low that one was. Should just be a flasher somewhere. Or sorry, that is an I. H is down here. Oh, here's I. Yeah. Just kind of got mixed up. All right, so I is now plugged in. Both of those are plugged in and fed through, wired nice and tight. Let's get the ramp switch here. So I'm gonna feed this under all of these here. Put it through this. And we will hook it up here to Q. Q goes to Q. Okay, so that's hooked up, out of the way. Let's get both of these hooked up. This is our G. So that ran up to here. G is hooked up, and then our F, wherever F is. Oh, here we go. F bends back this way. So F bends back there, G gets hooked up there. Okay, those are done. Before we hook any of these up, we can plug in Bigfoot's motor can get plugged in. The bottom, well, not the motor, the bottom of the circuit board. Then his motor will get plugged in. So we'll just line up the Bigfoot board there. All right, that's hooked up. And again, just go through and do these one by one. We can hook our flipper up, so that goes to O. And just make sure your wires are lined up the way that they should be. That goes to O and N. So I don't know where N is at. Let's see if I can run this under any of these. And actually, before we hook those up, we have our back flasher, which looks to be D. We can hook that up, and then our back switch over here, which looks to be E. So we got E and D hooked up back there. All right, those are hooked up. I don't know where this one ran. All right, well, we got H right here that we can hook up. And this one was hooked up to I. So there's a chance I at least can get in this wire wrap here. H can just hang the way that it does. All right, P, this is our longest stretching wire. So you want to make sure it is completely behind everything. I want to say it was above this bracket. I guess we'll see. Yeah, that is a long stretch. So I might have to get this one out of there or something. All right, we can hook L up. L goes down here. Get O, get M out of the way. I'm just matching these up one by one, hooking up what we need to, and then I'll reference my pictures for what needs to get hooked up where. Well, where the wires run, I'll reference my pictures, and we'll just go from there. So K goes up here. Okay, easy. We can hook our flipper up. N goes up here. I was missing this one before. And then O goes down here to our power. That's completely out of the way. So now the only thing that isn't hooked up, just our Insanity Falls ramp on the left side, and then P, which I want to reference my pictures to make sure I hook it up the right way. Because I know this one was definitely a stretch when we had it hooked up. Yeah, it was running, the way I have it pictured is it was here, right next to the coil, and then this was run just like this. So it was real tight against that coil on P. And that's for the upper opto. So that's hooked up, opto's hooked up, all these wires are nice, completely hooked up. Let me see how the ball popper was wired up, just to make sure it's not gonna get caught. Let's see if I have a picture of that. Okay, it looks like the ball popper was running up this way. I think H was on top of it. Okay, it looks like P actually ran through the bottom side of it and kind of kept the wire up, so I'm going to run it through like that just to make sure it's out of the way. All right, that looks pretty good to me. H is out of the way, L is good. All of these are hooked up and hanging the ways that they were. I think that is everything hooked up. Everything but Insanity Falls is now hooked up. So these are ran up nice through, out of the way. We got our side ones hooked up, Disaster Drop hooked up. Both of these ran through the bottom and hooked up. We can go ahead and drop the Playfield. And let me zoom out and fix our camera here. All right, so now we can put on the upper to lower ramp. And let me find the screws for that bag, upper to lower. And I think this is one I got new screws for because I wasn't certain. The wood screws I kept the same, but I wasn't certain on the side screws that hook up to this ramp. And I believe, again, just reference your pictures as you're doing all this. Yeah, I believe it goes under the Bigfoot ramp, like this. All right, there we go. That's in place. We're lined up there with our ball drop. So we can go ahead and get our wood screws in first. And then after we get the wood screws in, we can get in the screw for Bigfoot here. All right, so we got 2 wood screws. I'm just gonna get this one started, get the other one in, and I'm just pushing this just to make sure it goes in nice and straight. All right, so that's in nice and straight now. We can get our screw up here put in. I'm just getting this one started. And we just want to make sure it drops nice and evenly there. I'm just going to leave that loose for now. And then I have new screws and nuts for this one. All right, so these are brand new. I don't know if the original was shorter or what the case was. I might have to use, I think I'll use the originals. And let me just make sure these are the same length, the new ones and the old ones. Yeah, they're the same length. So we can get these nuts on. I'm gonna have to push down a little bit as I go to put this on. Make sure we're tight up here. That wood screw is tight. That one's nice and tight. All right, I gotta figure out what size that is. Might be 11/32, and you just gotta come under this ramp and tighten it up. Let me make sure. Yep, it's not 11/32, 5/16, sorry. So I'm just tightening this up, holding the nut in place as I tighten. So that one's tight. Let me come back to this side now that that one's tight. Yeah, we got a little bit more there. All right, so that's nice and tight now. New screws in there. Looking good up by Bigfoot. And then the last thing to tighten is we just want to make sure this is nice and lined up here, how it should be. All right, and that is nice and tight right there. So drops perfectly even with our lane guide. Upper to lower ramp is on. We are hooked up to the Bigfoot ramp. Now we just have to put the, clean all this up in a second. We just got to put the shooter ramp on, and shooter ramp was just a few screws if you remember, and we'll put this on, and then Bigfoot's cave will have to get put on. Yeah, so this just, there's a side that hooks in up by the top, and then it just drops into place just like that. So hooking the top first, drop it into place. And all of this stuff, all the metal ramps and everything, I cleaned it with Novus 1 or Novus 2 and just wiped them down. So all right. We got 3 of these and 2 for Bigfoot. So we'll just get these 3 started. I got one that goes through down here. Let me just flip this around. We got one that goes through on the bottom here. So I'm just gonna go ahead, get this one started, not all the way. And then same with the next 2. Get that one started, then get this one started. It's just 3, 2 on the upper playfield, 1 on the bottom, and then it's just tightening it into place. Let's go ahead and get the bottom tightened first. This bottom nice and tight, and we come up top. That one's nice and tight. All right. I believe it goes on this one here. I have a little raft mod to put on, and I need to double check which side it goes on. I think it might go under, actually. Let me see if these these screws just go through it like that. I think it goes on this front one. So I'm gonna get the top one started, and then we will slide the other one into place. All right, and then our raft will go between the boulder and this, and we'll just shove it through both. get it lined up there. All right, now it's going through there, and we'll adjust this how we want to. I think it's supposed to go like that. All right, so that one's nice and tight. Let's just get this side tightened up. All right, Bigfoot's Cave is back on, shooter lane's back on. We got our little raft right on there. So now I also have a raft for Insanity Falls. So now that we're set there, we can go ahead and put Insanity Falls on, because we got our upper to lower ramp on, Bigfoot is attached to it, shooter ramp is on, Bigfoot's Cave is screwed down. Everything has been connected. We just have to get Insanity Falls and drop the 2 wires back for Insanity Falls, and just put in the 5-6 screws for Insanity Falls and the dual ball gate up top, and that is the last ramp that has to go on. So let me grab Insanity Falls and we'll go ahead and put that on. All right guys, so I went ahead and grabbed Insanity Falls. I have all of my hardware ready. We can go ahead and just drop this back onto the Playfield. We just got to make sure that we feed both of our wires down through the back here. And this is probably going to be the worst part of this. The other worst part being getting it where the dual ball gate is at. All right, so there's a little trick I use to get the wires back through. As I come back here, I get them fed close to where they need to be, and then I just take a flathead and try to, if I have enough wire to go off of, just take a flathead and try to pull it through if I can. So we went ahead and got the upper Insanity Falls switch fed through the bottom of the Playfield. The flasher up here fed through the bottom of the Playfield. The first thing I'm going to do is just get the screw up top. Might be a different screw, different thread maybe. That might be the wrong one. There we go. Just a little off. All right, so I'm just gonna get this one on there, not super tight, just in place for now. And once we get that one on, you know what, I'll just go ahead and get all of these put on. And let me check. I know one of them didn't have a washer. I just want to check where. All right, the one even with the E. All right, so I'm just gonna get that one started. I'll loosen this one up a little bit. Actually, it doesn't need to be that far. One up here. And then the last one gets a spacer underneath the playfield, and it gets put all the way through and into the bottom, just like how I have it. So that one's going in now. All right, so that's loose and all together. And the last one we got to get in, I'll just get our sign and ball gate out of the way, and we'll just go ahead and push our ramp over just a little bit to get our wood screws in for the ramp flap. So that one's started, and we'll just get the next one in. All right, so both of those are in. We can move our ramp and tighten our ramp, or we can move our sign, I meant, and tighten that up. And our ball gate can go in place now. And their screw for our dual ball gate. All right, ball gate on both sides. I'm just going to tighten up the other side. Actually, maybe I'll shift it to the left if I can. Looks like it might get hung up there. That looks to be a little bit better. Alright, so tighten up that side. Actually sounds like it's a little too tight. Alright, both sides tightened up there. Wood screws are tightened up. We'll see if we need to move that sign when we're done, but now we can just go ahead and tighten Insanity Falls in place. I'm going to do this bottom one first. That will not tighten anymore. That one's good. Change bits for this bottom one. I think I might adjust my slingshot over just a little bit because it seems like it might be in the way. Actually, I might adjust both of these if I can. All right, everything there is nice and tight. Let me see, let me grab my little wrench here and see if I can adjust our slingshot over just a little bit. That way it's not in the way of our guide here. And I put brand new slingshot plastics on this because my left slingshot was broken. I had to order them in a pair, and I'd rather that they match than have one new one and one not new one, so. All right, nice and tight there. Insanity Falls is cleaned, back on, wires are fed through. I'm gonna go ahead and lift the Playfield and we will connect our last two connectors all the way down here. So we had A, which went up to our flasher, and that's hooked up now, and then B, that went to our switch gate, and that is now hooked up and out of the way, and we'll feed it back through that connector there, that clamp. A is good where it's at. It's hooked into the other flasher line. All right, everything should be back and hooked up the way that it's supposed to be. So let's just take a look at our final product here. We'll go ahead and drop the Playfield back into place. Well, it slid back in all right, so that's a good sign. Oh, our back boulders, but I guess before we put those on, let's power it up. Make sure those LED strips work. Wow, those LED strips are gonna light that boulder up. All right, so LED strips work. Turn this off. All right, that's in place. We can put our back boulders back on and we are done. And I went ahead and replaced the flasher domes on the back boulders, on both back boulders. Because I thought the orange blended in a little bit better. And I went back and forth. I was thinking about doing clear. I was thinking about doing blue because I've seen people do that. And I ended up on orange because it matches the boulders a little bit better. They blend in a lot better. And I'm happy I went with orange because it looks a lot better. Better than I thought it was going to. So yeah, these back boulders just go on with 2 screws in the back here. Let's go ahead and put those on. That one's tight. This side's tight. All right, so now we have basically the entire game back together. Let me go ahead and turn it on, get it into attract mode once it starts up. Yeah, completely lights up the back boulders up there, makes the upper playfield super bright. Now you can actually see stuff on this game. So I still have to install the NVRAM. Let's see what our test report gives us. Time and date not set, all right. Well, Bigfoot's working, so that's a good sign. We hooked everything up correctly so far. Like I said, I still have to put in the NVRAM and a new game ROM, but now you can see what it looks like, everything back together. Yeah, let's take the camera off the tripod, get up close to how all of this looks. So really all I need to do is I gotta drop new balls in this thing and do the NVRAM and new game ROM, and this restoration will be done. But for this episode, I think we're just gonna go ahead and stop here. Let me turn my light off. I did a few different colors in the river classes. I did blues on our river letter lights, rivers, blue. I alternated white and blue on the whirlpool, and it looks pretty cool. Yeah, it looks awesome. All of our LEDs in the back seem to be working all right, so that's good. Yeah, yellow by the whirlpool, red and the whirlpool jackpot. Sanity Falls all back together with our new spacer. I got a new spacer for this, and new plastic there. Everything's nice and tight, so that that's pretty much all I wanted to get done for this episode. Just get everything back together. In the next episode, we'll do the NVRAM, new game ROM, drop our new balls in, and play our first game. So we'll go from there. But really was not too bad getting everything back together. You just got to take your time, be meticulous, take pictures, know what hardware goes where. But that's the entire game put back together. Let's turn the light up a little bit. Yeah, that's all of the entire upper playfield put back on, all of our ramps back on, everything's on. If we didn't have to do NVRAM, this would be good to go, ready to play. So that pretty much wraps up this week's episode. I just wanted to get everything back together. In the next one, we'll just do a quick NVRAM install. We'll take the CPU board out, install our NVRAM socket, install our new game ROM, put it back in, and then we can play. And also we got new bulbs up in the topper. You can see how bright our back glass is with the cool white LEDs. So it's looking great, guys. So yeah, that wraps up this episode. Next one, we'll just finish it up, and that'll be it for the whitewater restoration. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.